for joining us for Broncos Postgame Live. I am Phil Milani here in studio with Todd Davis and Nick Ferguson. What a game out there in Seattle. Disappointing for Broncos fans, but it was a thriller. 17-16 the final there. Todd, just your quick takeaways here from what you saw.
I think that was a crazy game. It was a lot of back and forth. I feel like the Broncos definitely left a lot out on the table and made a lot of mistakes, but there's a lot to build from this game.
Nick, your quick thoughts here on the game.
Well, the one thing that stood out to me definitely was the penalties. We saw the offense move the ball down the field coming out of the halftime, and that showed me that offensive chemistry was there. But I think 106 yards in penalties, you can't do that and expect to win the ball game in a hostile environment.
Yeah, it was a hostile environment. You saw that affect Russ maybe a little bit at the beginning of the game. What do you think? He came out to booze.
Yeah, but it felt like it affected him a little bit. I think there was multiple times where he had delay of game penalties. They weren't able to get the snap count right. It was loud. They were cheering and booing at the same time. I think it definitely had its toll on him.
Well, the one thing I think about, the snap count and those type of issues, it was the crowd noise. We knew going in that was going to be a major issue, but I heard Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talking about it on a telecast saying, okay, well, the reason that they are having these issues are because they did not play in the preseason. No, it's a loud environment. I don't care who you are. You definitely going to have issues in Seattle.
Yeah, let's show you how this game unfolded, and we can get to the highlights here. Russell Wilson making his Broncos debut and also making his return to Seattle. A lot of boos to start. Were you surprised?
I was. I felt like he had given a lot to the team. I thought they would be more excited to see him, but at the same time, they were hurt. That was their man, and they felt like he left them.
Yeah, most definitely. The Broncos were down 7 in the second. Not anymore. Russell Wilson to Jeudy, 67 yards. Jeudy did not have a touchdown last season, and this was Russell Wilson's first touchdown as a Bronco. Nick?
Well, this was great for both the chemistry of Russell Wilson and Jeudy. All offseason, all I heard about how disappointing Jeudy was from a wide receiver standpoint. This shows you his capabilities, and now we have a competent quarterback that can get him the ball.
Yeah, that was a big play. In the third quarter, Gregory also making his Broncos debut, strips DK Metcalf. Justin Simmons there to recover on the ensuing drive, though. Javonte Williams fumbles at the goal line. The Broncos lost 2 balls on the goal line in this one. The Broncos go on to lose 17-16. Guys, let's talk about the big play here, though. Russell Wilson had an opportunity to lead this team down the field. They were down 1, 17-16. It set up a 64-yard field goal for Brandon McManus. Do you think they should have gone for 4th, put the ball in Russell Wilson's hand, or let McManus attempt a career long?
I definitely feel like the ball should be in Russell Wilson's hand at the end of the game. I know it's 4th and 5, so it's going to feel like it's 4th and 10 against that loud, roaring crowd, but I definitely feel like you put the ball in his hands. For McManus, yes, he's a great kicker, but that would have been a career long for him to make and the second longest in NFL history had he made it. Give the ball to Russ and see what he can do.
Well, you gave up so much draft capital to acquire Russell, so I'm with you, Todd. You got to put the ball in Russ's hands. And you said it before we started, you got to let Russ cook. You can't put him on a slow cooker like a pot roast. You have to give him an opportunity, 4th and 5, to win the ball game for you. And to me, I think when Nathaniel Hackett watched the film, he's going to look back and say, well, that's one I let get away.
Well, I'm sure that we'll talk about this plenty more. But let's go out to Lumen Field and check in with Hall of Famers Steve Atwater and Eric Dalala.
Thanks, Phil. Steve, a disappointing ending there. Certainly not what we wanted. What did you see? Too many missed opportunities, maybe?
Yeah, definitely too many missed opportunities. Got in the red zone. I know 3 of the times we got into the red zone. 2 fumbles, a field goal, and then also just way too many penalties, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're just not going to win games in the NFL, especially on the road, when you make that many mistakes. I thought it was a good sign. The Broncos moved the ball kind of at will between the 20s. They just bogged down when they got to the red zone. It seems correctable, but obviously that's what came back to bite them tonight. Defensively, Steve, it didn't look good enough in the first half, but then they came back and they looked a lot better in the second half.
Yeah, definitely looked a lot better, but I'll tell you what, the penalties is going to be the thing that you're going to go back and look at the film, and they're going to really regret the number of penalties that we had, the number of senseless penalties that could have been avoided. I thought they had really good effort. The guys were physical. I was a little bit concerned about that going into the game, not really having that physicality in the preseason, but they came out and they were very physical.
Yeah, the other thing I like, Steve, Bradley Chubb looked like a man possessed. A couple of sacks, had the strip sack. Randy Gregory forced a fumble. That's what you need out of those 2 edge rushers, so I liked seeing that. And then, Steve, what do you think about the end of the game there? Deciding to kick the field goal instead of going for it on 4th and medium, putting in Brandon McManus' hands.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brandon McManus is a great kicker. He's super reliable. Every now and then he'll miss one. This, unfortunately, was one of those days. But I'd make that decision 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, definitely one that'll be talked about. Having Russ, maybe he could have picked up the first down with a passing play, but, you know, it's half a dozen one, 6 the other, so we'll see.
Yeah, this loss certainly hurts. But really, in the big scheme of things, it's only one game. We got to bounce back and win this next game next week against the Texans.
That's right. Quick week. Play again on Sunday. They got to get that one at home. Phil, back to you.
Thank you very much, guys, out there field side at Lumen Field. We're back here in studio with Todd Davis and Nick Ferguson. Guys, I was surprised. I thought for sure when Russ got the ball there for that final drive, that's when he shines. I thought they'd be able to move the ball a little bit easier than they did.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he was back to his normal self just yet. I think throughout the game you saw that there was a couple balls that were underthrown. There was a couple times he felt pressure and wasn't able to get the ball right on target. I feel like Russ at his prime and when he's playing great, he's able to march down the field and really put the team in a great position to win the game at that end of the game.
What'd you think?
Well, see, I still go back to what we were talking about earlier about with that 4th and 5, giving Russ an opportunity to move the ball. Because what we've seen, like in the first half, it wasn't great offensively. Coming out of halftime, they moved the ball effectively. You heard Steve and Eric talk about that. To me, you got to give your quarterback an opportunity to pick up that 4th down and that 4th and 5. And look, we love Brandon McManus, and I know there's going to be a lot of conversation about that. But to me, you got to allow Russell to make that play. And that was a quick dump-off pass or screen pass that was actually working to the running back. So I don't know why. The idea was to go give the ball to, your kicker to kick the ball in that situation, known as it was very difficult for him. But that's going to give us something to talk about moving into the Houston game.
Yes, I'm sure that we'll be talking about this all week long. Let's just talk about Russ's game overall here. 29 of 42, threw the ball 42 times, 340 yards, and 1 touchdown.
He definitely threw the ball a lot. The only problem I have with his game is, and it's not so much his game, it's more the offensive coordinator. I feel like more of those screens should have went to plays for the wide receivers. You need Cortland Sutton to really get active. You need Jeudy to get more targets. I feel like they used a lot of those targets on running backs when he could have really made some more plays to his wide receivers.
It was the Andrew Beck show to start the game. I mean, we were like, where did that come from, huh?
On fire.
Well, so to me, that's the direction of where I saw this game at the very beginning. I mean, we know that the crowd was going to be involved. They were going to try to take both Jeudy and Sutton out of the game. But the middle of the field was open. There was no more Bobby Wagner. You had Brooks, who was coming in for his second start in his second year. Now, throwing those passes to the tight ends, behind the linebackers, in front of the safeties, that was great, but it seemed like they kind of went away from it.
We'll be hearing from Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett in just a little bit here. I'm sure he'll be asked a lot about the decision to kick that field goal there. Do you think that were you surprised at all by the boos? I know we talked about that just a little bit there, but just do you think that, for everything that Russ did in Seattle, the Walter Payton Man of the Year, won a Super Bowl there. Were you surprised about the embrace that they gave him?
Yeah, I definitely don't think he should be booed. He's done a lot for the Seattle Seahawks and the community there. I know he always loved to give back, and I know he was a philanthropist while he was there. So it sucks to see him get booed coming back to where he started his career.
Well, Todd, you play in this league a long time. You know they love you when you're wearing the jersey.
Yep.
When you go in a different jersey, they are all at your throat. But I knew at the very beginning the crowd was 50-50 as far as cheering and booing. But once they kick the ball off, you're an enemy in a different jersey. They don't care about the man, being Walter Payton man and being in the community. They now look at it like Geno is our quarterback. You was our quarterback, but now we need to move on.
How about the game from Geno Smith here? Really a surprise, in my opinion. 23 of 28, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns. For a little bit there, it looked like he couldn't miss.
Yeah, he started off perfect. 13 for 13. Really came out and played well. Played much better than I thought he was going to this game. So hats off to Geno Smith. I feel like he had a great game and really was able to move that offense much better than I thought he would.
Well, the game plan was real simple for Geno Smith coming out. Hand the ball off. Take the short passes. We didn't really see him push the ball down the field in the vertical passing game, but it was like a 5 yards here, 10 yards, 14. That's how you took advantage of the Broncos' defense, both horizontally and vertically. And you're right, he came out. They had an excellent game plan. But at the end of the day, even though the Broncos did not win, I still say that Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Geno Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Geno Smith probably had the best game of his career. I mean, just to come in there knowing what all the circumstances were with Russ coming in, I think that he probably played the game of his life. Let's talk about the tight ends a little bit, though, guys. Colby Parkinson, Will Dissly, Noah Fant. These guys had big days.
Yeah, and it's tough because it was primarily on the linebackers. I think Jonas Griffin and Alex Singleton need to step up and play better. Those are going to be the coverage linebackers for the Denver Broncos. When Josey Jewell comes back and he's healthy, he's going to be playing in the box. He's not going to be man-to-man outside on tight ends. So I need those two guys to play better and really lock down opposing tight ends.
Well, Todd, since you played linebacker in this league and I didn't, how do you guard those tight ends coming off the ball, especially when they're open and flex out from the core, from the offensive line?
The best way is to get your hands on them. Use your body, use your size and your ability to really redirect them and get them off their path. You never want to let them build up momentum because these tight ends in the league are so fast nowadays. It's like playing against wide receivers now. So being able to get your hands on guys and really move them off their spot, that's how you really disrupt tight ends.
Todd, did it seem like they were really missing Josey Jewell out there? Because there were times where maybe there was a little bit of confusion, guys wide open, certainly at the beginning of the game.
I think they did. I think he's pivotal to this defense being great. I mean, I don't think he gets enough credit. I know when he comes back, he's going to be wearing the green dot. He's going to be getting guys lined up and in the right, correct spaces, ready to go. And I know that's how he gets down. So I'm excited to see him come back and really take hold of that defense.
I'll say this about Josey. I was one of those guys early on, like last year, that was really critical of him as a player, but you're absolutely right. They missed that guy with the green dot, getting guys lined up, telling people where they need to be, and just kind of being there as a run stopper, but also being in the pass coverage. I know he's not a fast guy, but just being in the right place, that's what the Broncos were missing tonight.
Well, we're still waiting to hear from Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett, but let's go out to Lumen Field and inside the Actually, I'm hearing word here that Nathaniel Hackett is heading up to the podium. Let's listen in live here from Lumen Field.
And, I give so much credit to the Seahawks. I give a ton of credit to our players battling the whole night to be able to put ourselves in position to potentially win a game-winning field goal. With all those things against us, I thought those guys did a good job. But we just got to be better in that red zone, and that starts with me. I got to be sure we've got a better plan, and we're able to get physical down there and score some touchdowns instead of field goals or nothing at all. No, sir. No. He knew where we had to get. I thought Javonte made an amazing why I was expecting to have to go for it on that down and distance because I believe we were about 3rd and 14, 3rd and 15. I thought Javonte made an incredible play and put us in the field goal range, the mark that we were looking for.
Can you pinpoint anything in specific on squandering the 3 goal-to-go?
Yeah, we didn't execute. We had a false start. We had a walk-in touchdown, and then we ended up having a false start, which is unacceptable. You can't have penalties there. We had a couple opportunities. They were there. We just got to capitalize on them, and we didn't. And that's what's frustrating in those situations.
A couple of delay game penalties and then a bunch more kind of came right down to the right block. What did you see there that was causing some of that?
Yeah, we have no excuses. That's what we preach. We got to be sure that we, get the play in and get it called and get those guys rolling. I know it was definitely loud, but again, that's no excuse. We got to be better.
Okay, so you guys, when Brandon went out there the first time and kicked it, and they called a timeout and missed it. Was there any consideration of maybe the decision?
No, I was happy he got that one out of the way. I thought, he had plenty of distance on that one and just thought that we were going to be able to make that. I have confidence in him, and if we have to put him in that situation again, I think he'll be able to make it.
Can you chop that 12 times?
I got to go back and look at each one of them. I know a lot of them came in the first half, and it's just one of those things. We have to look at the ones that we can control. There are some that, were some, I don't know if it was taunting or unnecessary roughness and things like that, so we can pull those ones back for sure. Those are big chunks of yards that kept drives alive. So we just got to make sure we keep our wits about us. One thing that we talked about coming here was we had to be sure we controlled our emotions, and there were too many times that we didn't, and that hurt us. Yeah, we were right on the line, and he had plenty of distance. He just missed it. And so, and again, Brandon gave it his best shot. That's a long field goal to hit. I think he's completely capable of that, but obviously I wish we would have gotten a lot closer, but it put us in that weird spot there because we were in the field goal range, but we were on that 4th down situation. Didn't think we were going to get that many yards, so I thought it was a great job by Javonte, and we just made the decision. We want to take our shot there on that one.
What did you see defensively? What did you see in the second half, adjustment-wise, that allowed you to play better on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I'll tell you, they did a good job. Again, I think that first half, a lot of those drives were extended because of penalties. So they took some of those penalties out. They made some good adjustments, and they did really well. I think it was only like 35, 40 yards, and and we moved the ball well. I mean, in the end, we got to score in the red zone. It's that simple, and that starts with me.
And so that's Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett. We're listening in live there, back here in studio with Todd Davis and Nick Ferguson. Guys, we heard Coach talk about a couple of things there. Penalties. The Broncos had 12 penalties for 106 yards, and then also scoring in the red zone. The Broncos fumbled the ball twice at the goal line. Todd, just what were your takeaways from what you heard from Coach there?
Yeah, I think he's right on par with where they need to be better. I know the penalties are definitely not the way that you win football games. I think 106 yards, that's basically giving them a touchdown and you're playing from behind. The only penalty I really didn't like was the Jonathan Cooper taunting penalty. I felt like you have emotion playing the football game. You're excited to play. I didn't feel like that was enough to really warrant that penalty.
Well, when we start to break down these penalties, once again, the first thing that everyone's going to say, this is a byproduct of not playing in the preseason. To me, I would say it was a very emotional game walking in. The guys didn't really contain their emotion in the first half, but here's what I do like. They were able to go into halftime, regroup defensively, and they came out and played well. I know at the ending of the game, the score is not in the Broncos' favor, but let's look at, passing yards, total yards, and rush yards. The defense did a great job in that department, and the guy, once again, who's been heavily criticized, like a Jeudy and Bradley Chubb, he had 2 sacks. So to me, even though in the loss, there is a silver lining here, and this team will do better next week against Houston.
Oh, you mentioned Jeudy there, Nick. Let's go out to Lumen Field inside the Broncos locker room. Sidney Jones is standing by with Jeudy.
Here inside the locker room with wide receiver Jeudy. Jerry, a tough, really close game. What did head coach Nathaniel Hackett say to you guys following the game here in the locker room?
It was a tough game. We just got to go out there. We was on the goal line, red zone like 3-4 times. We just got to finish when we get to the point we can't turn the ball over. I mean, that's what cost us, so we got to do a better job at that.
This is the first time we saw the offense really in a live action game. What do you guys want to work on over the next week to continue to gel?
Just finishing. That's the biggest thing, I feel like we're doing a good job driving the ball up and down the field. We just got to finish at the end of the day. If you can't score a touchdown, you can't win the game. So I think we did a good job just driving the ball. The big emphasis is just finish.
Well, Jerry, you found the end zone again. How much did that mean to you to get a touchdown this game?
I mean, it means a lot, not having to score a touchdown last year and scoring the first touchdown of the season, but it don't mean nothing without the dub. So, I mean, we're just going to work on this week and get better next week.
Jerry, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Phil, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sidney. Jeudy led the Broncos in receiving today, 4 catches, 102 yards. Says you got to get in the end zone there. The Broncos were 0 for 4 in the red zone. You could really just point to that and say that's why they lost the game. That's
the number one thing they need to work on. I feel like this next week heading into Houston is being able to finish long drives and really having great red zone offense. That's where the game is won and lost. If you make it all the way down there and get no points, then the whole march was for nothing. Yeah, if you want to look at something and point at the preseason, the guys not playing, it is the red zone because that's a lot of timing because the field is reduced. And you practice against your defense or the scout team defense, but it's always different when intensity goes up when you're playing against a different opponent. But still, I'm not down on the Denver Broncos after this game because, once again, they had some issues in the game that we could look at and say, well, they definitely need to improve here. But there were more positive things going in that third and fourth quarter that I'm happy about. The Broncos certainly played better in the second half, that's for sure. One thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was the Broncos' offensive line. We saw Quinn Miners leave this game with an injury. Billy Turner was already out with his knee rehab here. Cam Fleming had to get the start there. Do you feel like the offensive line is where it needs to be right now, Todd? No, I definitely feel like they're missing a few pieces, and you can tell on some of those critical plays on the fourth down. Graslow kind of gets blown back into the back of the line, and kind of that's what disrupts the entire play. So they're definitely not at their full potential. I think they'll be much better when they get all their key pieces back, and even Billy Turner to get on the field and really play. They're missing some guys, so I think you'll see a lot better from them in future games. See, the knee-jerk reaction is look at the game and overreact. To me, I'm like, this is a work in progress. This is the first game of 17 weeks, so let's not panic. I know it was being built as a revenge game
for Russell Wilson, and the Broncos did not win. But once again, we got to look at the positive things, because it is so easy to look at this game and point out every single negative thing that happened. But that offensive line, they will be better. At some point, I don't know when, Billy Turner will be back, and that offensive line as a group will be much better.
Yeah, the play Graham Glasgow kind of got pushed back, and then that bumped into Javonte, and he coughed the ball up there. So definitely something to pay attention to. Wondering in the red zone there, when Russ is back there, it seems like he doesn't go right away. He likes to dance around a little bit, make that second play a little bit. But it seems like in the red zone, it's harder. Everything's a little bit tighter, Nick. I mean, do you feel like you got to just, boom, get the ball out?
Well, inside the red zone, timing is everything. And that's why he moves around, because you not have to defend the first route, but the second route. If a guy's running to the pylon, now he works back inside towards the goalpost. And that's where we've seen Russ over the past couple of years make a lot of his great plays. But today, it wasn't in the cards for the Denver Broncos. They have to go back to the drawing board and fix up things in the red zone.
And that's really tough as a defense, those second effort plays. I know how it feels to be out there and feel like you got somebody stopped, and then he wheels back and Russ Wilson is coming around the corner and dumps him the ball. It's detrimental. It feels like there's no way we can win the game when he's able to make plays like that.
And that's what we're used to seeing from Russell Wilson for sure. Let's go back inside the Broncos locker room again and check in with Sydney Jones. She's with Justin Simmons.
Here inside the locker room with Justin Simmons. Justin, a tough game tonight. Obviously, you guys didn't get the win. What do you want to work on over the next week to, change the mindset heading into next week?
Yeah, we defensively, we didn't do nearly a good enough job in the first half. Just honestly played probably our worst half of football in a while. And, we didn't win the takeaway battle either. We got one there earlier on. We just weren't able to kind of make something else happen from that. We just got to be better. I know if we're better defensively, there's no doubt, we'll be better off as a team and we'll find ways to win the game. But even with that, awful first half, able to bounce back in the second half and, came down to the wire. And I have no doubt that next time we'll pull that out.
You mentioned the first half, obviously, the Seahawks, they were doing great offensively, but then you guys shut them out in the second half. What adjustments did you guys make at halftime?
Yeah, we just had to settle down. A lot of it was eyes and, a few MEs, communication things. And, once we kind of got those details ironed out and we played our brand of football, we saw what happened. And, but credit to them. In the first half, they had our number on a few plays and, they had a few things, go well for them. But all that stuff for us is fixable. And I think we saw that in the second half, the way we were able to communicate and bounce back. But just didn't bounce back enough. And like I said, good thing about the NFL is no one cares about this game after tomorrow, and then we move on to the next week.
Well, appreciate your time, Justin.
Thank you.
Phil, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sydney. There with Justin Simmons. I heard a lot about misassignments, communication issues. That did seem to get a little bit better in the second half.
Yeah, it did. It felt like they kind of settled down. They weren't really playing with their emotions anymore in the second half and kind of got to their game plan. Those guys are all talented out there on that defense. Just being able to settle down and play your game is most important for them.
That's one of the difficulties of starting the season on the road and the hostile environment. The energy you have inside of you, and I don't know how it was for Utah, but for me, it was always those nervous butterflies, and I had to go out there and make that first tackle. I'm sure a lot of guys were going through that, and you saw it in that first half, guys not being in the right position, and Justin talked about communication. Communication is a key part to playing defense. If you don't communicate, now there's going to be open receivers, and we saw that with the tight ends tonight.
One guy that we saw do something that we haven't really seen him do a lot of is Pat Surtain, the second. So much talk about him during training camp this whole offseason, about how year number 2 he was really going to take off. We saw him move around the field following DK Metcalf. Metcalf finished with 7 catches for 36 yards. That's a tough assignment for any quarterback, though.
That's a great game for him. I feel like he played great. I feel like it's tough to follow the number 1 receiver all around the field the entire game. Some people don't know how hard that is. I'm sure you know what it's like. Guarding, the top receiver in the game. It's no joke for one play, but let alone having to do it for 60 plays straight. That's a hard day.
See, it was different for me because I didn't have to cover wide receivers. I had guys like Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez, so I know how difficult that was. But here's a young guy going into his second year, playing against a big physical, I guess, A-list type of wide receiver, and he pretty much held him in check the entire game. And I knew that DK was going to try to be really physical with PS2, but he lived up to the challenge, man, and I'll say that he won the day.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen him do that so much, though, where he moves around and follow a guy. I guess that's just the next step in his maturation, huh?
Yeah, when he fully becomes a man, he'll lock down the whole side of the field, wherever that number one receiver is. He'll follow him all game, and that'll be his job. They're going to want him to fully lock down the whole side of the field when he's out there playing. I feel like he has the potential to do that. I don't know about you, but I feel like he's one of the best second-year corners I've seen play.
Yeah, he is. And this is why the Broncos went out and drafted him 2 years ago in the first round, to be this type of guy. And there are not too many shutdown corners in the league. I happen to play with one, and, Champ Bailey. And I say, well, every time I watch PS2 in practice, he reminds me a lot of Champ Bailey. But this is just kind of that first step of solidifying himself as a top corner by moving around and tracing a guy like DK Metcalf.
Yeah, it seemed like he certainly lived up to that off-season hype. How about the guys up front? You talked about Bradley Chubb a little bit earlier. It seemed like they were just about to get home so many times, and then Geno would just do something and dump it off. But good to see Chubb come back with 2 sacks here.
Yeah, this was great because when we look at the conference as a whole, we have so many mobile quarterbacks that can escape the pocket. But every time as I was watching, I was so antsy. I was like, Gregory is right there. Chubb is right there. And then all of a sudden, you look at Geno, he would find a little escape route, and he just kind of squeezed through. But at the same time, I like what I was seeing from Bradley Chubb. And great for him, man. After so many injuries and the criticism, to get 2 sacks, great for him.
Yeah, I love to see him go out and play like this. After guys doubt him or feel like he has to have a big year, he might be gone. He came out there and really put his stamp on this game with having 2 sacks. And although Randy Gregory didn't get home to the quarterback, that forced fumble was a potential game changer. I feel like that was the first time that the defense really stopped the Seattle's offense because they were kind of moving the ball. So I think he played well, and I'm excited to see him get after the quarterback more.
We're hoping to hear from Bradley Chubb here in just a little bit at the podium. That 1-2 combination, though, we saw Chubb with the 2 sacks, and then Randy Gregory made one of the bigger plays, ripping that ball out. Todd, we were watching and we were like, that could have been a game-changing type of play.
Yeah, I really thought that was going to be the play to change the entire game. I feel like it did change the momentum of the game. It really got their offense out of their rhythm because they had kind of been putting some things together and really allowed our offense to get on the field and really start making plays. I know the plays didn't end, or the drives didn't end how we wanted to, ended up being fumbles on the 1-yard line, but it really did change the momentum of the game.
But this is why I say, well, you can find some silver linings in what happened today. Because let's go back to what's going to be the conversation, not playing in preseason. Randy Gregory, how many games did he play in the preseason? Not one. In practice, he was limited as well. So this was the first time we saw Bradley Chubb on one side and Randy Gregory on the other side, but they were able to create a lot of pressure, never really getting, a massive amount of sacks as though we want them to get. But at the same time, you have to be happy about what you saw for Randy Gregory in his first time, because he was corralling and he was in that pocket a lot, causing a lot of headaches for Geno Smith. So to me, I still like what I saw from those 2 guys.
Yeah, and Gregory's still working his way back from injury too. So once he's fully healthy, able to play a little bit more snaps out there, he could really do a lot of damage. How about the guys up front? Seattle ran for just 76 yards. We know those keeping up with the Joneses in the middle. Draymond Jones, DJ Jones, they did their job tonight.
I really like the way DJ Jones played. I feel like he made a lot of one-on-one tackles against Penny, who's a strong, tough, physical running back. And I feel like both the Joneses played a really good game tonight. I even like Deshaun Williams. I like the way he played and stepped up. I think our front 5 is really something to be reckoned with. I think once they put it all together and really get those guys playing together and really build that chemistry, they're going to be a dominant front 5.
Well, this is why, DJ Jones was brought in, because he was one of the top run stuffers in the NFL. I mean, we haven't really seen both he and Draymond Jones play in a live game. So this was our first time, and those guys are working on that chemistry. There was a couple of plays in the game tonight where I saw, DJ Jones actually swim the guard and get in the backfield, wasn't able to pull down Rashad Penny, but still you like that early signs of the penetration. So once again, this is not a moment to panic. We can go and dissect this game, but once again, this is a team that still had a lot of plus side of things, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
This was a tough first game. I mean, just with all the build-up and Russ's debut, going back to Seattle, it's understandable that things were just a little bit shaky. And honestly, the game didn't really play out how I thought it was going to. I thought for sure they were going to pound the ball from the Seahawks' perspective, but it was Geno Smith who was doing most of the damage.
Yeah, Geno Smith had a great game tonight. Like we say, he started off perfect and really were able to put some things together. But it's so funny how this game really comes down to just a couple plays. And if our running backs don't fumble on the 1-yard line, then we're talking about this game completely differently. So it's just funny how it comes down to 2 games like that.
Yeah, Geno, they had a great game plan for him. And Pete Carroll talked about it early in the week, how, Geno's been there, I think this is his 4th year. So with him being the starter, now they can put plays in that make him more comfortable, not just Russ plays, but Geno-type plays. And it was interesting, I believe it was at some point before halftime, the crowd started cheering Geno. Not because Geno was having an exceptional game, but it was another way to get under the skin of Russell. But I do have to tip my cap to Geno because he did play well.
Yeah, a little bit different being the starter than a backup. This was Geno Smith's team, and he was able to play well today. Let's go out to Lumen Field and hear from Randy Gregory. He was with Sidney Jones inside the locker room.
Just mentality, I think. I think at the end of the day, we preach about physicality throughout the week, and doing things the right way. First half, I think we didn't stop the run the way we should. Like you said, penalties, a lot of mental errors, missed, alignments, assignments, things like that. So, faster we can cut down on that, faster we can find some success. I think we did in the second half. It just need to happen a little bit earlier.
You mentioned those penalties. It was a sloppy game for you guys. Is part of that because you think the starters didn't really play in the preseason? I mean, you weren't able to get on the field until now, or is it just his first game?
First game. I mean, a couple of those penalties could have, not been thrown. I think we've seen time and time again the preseason early on in the year, week 1, they put an emphasis on throwing the flag. So it's part of the game. We just got to adjust to it. It's two teams on the field. They're both dealing with the refs, and just another aspect of the game we just got to deal with.
What is the most disappointing part about this loss, Randy?
I think we're a better team. I mean, I think it's easy for anyone to say on the losing end. I think we know what we have as a unit, and I just think we didn't capitalize when we should have, and I think we would have. It would have been a different story.
Take any satisfaction in the way the defense played in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives us an idea of where we're headed. I think we feel very confident in our play. Like I said earlier, we got to do that in the first half. Put our foot on their neck and try to go from there, I guess.
Was there anything Geno Smith did? We thought maybe they would rely on the run a little more to protect him. Yeah. But it looked like, they were trusting Geno to make plays, especially
I'm surprised,
in that
but yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, look, he made some big throws. I give him that. But like I said earlier, I think, second half we were able to get him 3rd and long, 2nd and long, things like that, and made it a little bit harder for him to, make those passes. But it's tough to defend. When the offense has pretty much every play in their playbook they can run on a 3rd and 2, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, whatever it may be. And we just got to get up on them early on the first down.
What do you take away from this then, Randy?
That's Broncos pass rusher Randy Gregory inside the Broncos locker room. You are watching Broncos postgame live. We're here in studio with Todd Davis and Nick Ferguson. What were some of your takeaways from what he had to say out there?
Well, he was absolutely right when it comes to getting off the field on 3rd down. They didn't really excel in that. And also, when you put yourself in a very difficult spot, giving up positive yards on 1st down, now, like he said, Randy Gregory said it himself, now the whole playbook is open for us, those 2nd down plays. And that was kind of pretty much killing the Broncos all night.
I definitely agree with that. We know how it is going against defenses on offenses on 3rd down. When you're able to put them in 3rd and long, that playbook is very limited. It may be 5 to 6 plays that they have to run for the entire game in that distance. When it's 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3, their whole playbook is open and they have a lot to throw at you, so it's tough to defend.
Yeah, tough to defend for sure. Let's go back out to Lumen Field again here and hear from Kareem Jackson.
Yeah, I think just for us, communication was a big factor. I think we gave them a lot of wide open looks. In the second half, we kind of corrected that. We just got to get better. Obviously, it was our first game. Not having no preseason definitely in my opinion, played a factor in that. But give those guys credit. You know, they made the plays first half that they needed to make, and I just feel like for us as a secondary, we just got to be better with our communication. I think we did that the second half, and you know, the results were, you know, a lot different.
You touched on it, the no play in the preseason. It's been a big topic of a lot of people talking about, can you just kind of go from 0 to 60? Obviously, tackling, physical play, that's something that's hard to adjust to running a fly like that.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, I mean, I think we made the adjustments that we needed to make, you know, second half. I mean, obviously, having the first look, you know, in the first half, you know, a lot of mistakes. But, you know, to bounce back the way we did second half, definitely a positive thing for us. We just got to build on it. You know, I think for us as a defense, as a secondary, you know, it should look the way it looked the second half for 60 minutes for us. You know, like I said, I'll give those guys credit, but I feel like, you know, we gave them a lot of wide open looks that first half, and then I said, you know, the big thing was communication for us. So, I mean, we correct that, I think we'll be just fine.
J-Jack, last one for you. Down the stretch there, Russell's got the ball. Your offense is driving. You know, Brandon McManus has got a heck of a leg. You guys confident you were going to come back and win that game till the end?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of confidence in those guys on that side. You know, I think, you know, they played a hell of a game all game. You know, I mean, I think I'm not really sure what the yards look like, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. You know, for us, only thing that matters is wins and losses. You know, we weren't able to get this for the night. You know, but we have to build off it. You know, like I said, we'll continue to have confidence in those guys. You know, always have, you know, confidence in McManus as well. You know, but we say we just got to make corrections, and you know, first game. You know, a long season ahead of us, and you know, great thing about it, we have another opportunity on the horizon. So you know, just got to look forward to that and make the necessary corrections, and you know, keep pushing.
Appreciate the time, Kareem. Thank you. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
That's Broncos safety Kareem Jackson. All about wins and losses. And the Broncos losing this one 17-16 to the Seattle Seahawks. Back here in studio. Interesting to hear from Kareem there, said that he wished that they would have been able to play a little in the preseason. That's not what we've heard from some of the other guys.
Yeah, that was the first time we really heard one of the players speak out and said that they wish they would have had a little bit more playing time in the preseason. And I think that is true. I think that when I played my entire career, that preseason was necessary. I know all the way up until the third game, our communication still wasn't 100% on point. My wind still definitely wasn't there. My ability to tackle wasn't great, but it allowed me to warm up. It allowed me to get myself going and ready by game one to really play a full game. And I think the Broncos missed that a little bit.
Well, that was kind of interesting to hear Kareem Jackson kind of toss that out as far as not playing preseason being a problem with the team thus far. I'm not really going to lean too heavy on that because tackling wasn't that much of an issue. But for me, from a communication standpoint, you have to continue to work on that. Even when you're not playing, that's why you have to put more emphasis on it when you know your coach is telling you you're not going to play in the preseason.
And that's tough to really recreate. Running back after a long play, everybody's trying to get lined up, trying to get the play in, get the communication right. It's tough to recreate that in practice, and you only get that from in-game play.
We want to go back out to Lumen Field here and check in on the podium. Finally, Bradley Chubb is making his way to speak with the media. I think he's en route to the podium. I'm sorry. We'll hear from Bradley Chubb in just a second here, guys. Talking about that physicality, did you feel like that was an issue for the Broncos tonight? There were a couple of missed tackles. Oh, now Chubb is heading up there. Sorry. Let's go back to Lumen Field and hear from him.
I think we got in our groove, man. I think we kind of got the jitters out. You know what I mean? Not like trying to do too much. We just played within the defense and did everything we did. And I feel like it just started working out for us. And I feel like in the first half, our communication might have been lacking. And guys were just kind of all over the place, you know what I mean? But when we tuned it in, when we talked to Coach E at halftime, we got it all back on track, I feel like.
Does Jeudy not being out there kind of affect the communication? You know, I've played a lot in the last year.
No, I wouldn't say that. Alex did an amazing job. Him and Jonas did amazing jobs at the inside linebacker position. We missed Josie for sure. You know what I'm saying? That presence he brings, but I wouldn't say that because he was out that it was lacking.
Do you feel like he was back to being you there with a couple of sets?
Yeah, it was good to see. Good to have success in the pass game and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I want to do it for all 4 quarters. I feel like I just did it for 2. You know what I mean? I want to get back to being the full dominant, all the entire game type guy. So I just got to get better from that.
How nice was it to have a healthy Gregory rushing opposite you for a whole game?
It was huge, man. Just that you see him on that first drive, push 67 back and kind of get into the lap of Geno and kind of set the tone for me and for us as edge rushers and stuff like that. We know when you got a guy rushing like that on the other side, you just want to beat him to the quarterback. You want to be the first one there. He pushes me. He pushes everybody on that D-line, so it's great to have him back.
Bradley, you guys obviously had quite a few penalties tonight, especially on defense, kept some drives alive. As a captain of this team, what do you say to the guys this week to get back on track?
We just got to hone it in, man. Just can't be sloppy, you know what I mean? Got to practice how we want to play. Coach always says our practice preparation equals our game reality. And I feel like sometimes during the week we might have slid by those penalties. Like we saw those penalties happen. We might have slid by. We might have not addressed it as we should have. But, I mean, at the end of the day, as a captain, as a leader, you got to be the one to have those hard conversations and make sure we get back on track.
What was the atmosphere like with Russell's return, opener Monday night, all that?
It was cool. It was cool just to see the Seahawks fans gravitate towards hating them and booing them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I played in a lot of stadiums.
That's Broncos pass rusher Bradley Chubb after the game. 2 sacks, made a couple of big plays out there tonight. Like we were talking about, though, was the physicality. Did you feel like that was an issue tonight? Because they did stop the run pretty well, but there were a few missed tackles.
Yeah, they had a couple of missed tackles, but I was very interested to see how they were going to tackle, having not tackled in the preseason. But I feel like they did a great job. I feel like they tackled really well and they were physical. I mean, you look at the running game, it was 20 carries for 103 yards. That's moving the ball up front. I know we mentioned, the O-line getting knocked back on that 4th down stop, but before that, and even after that, they really ran the ball well and they asserted their physical dominance.
Well, the physicality wasn't a problem. Obviously, you're thinking because they're not playing the preseason, the physicality is going to be an issue. But no, it was more or less the level of execution. And once again, time and time again, we continue to hear each player talk about communication, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So the first thing I'm going to go back to is how valuable was Josey Jewell not being in this game? And not to say that Alex, Singleton couldn't get the job done, but he's running down the field on special teams, and then he had to go play on defense. I don't know about you, Todd. I've done that before, and let me tell you, I mean, you are winded, you got cotton mouth, you can't even get your words out. So when I hear guys talk about communication, that's the first thing I think about, is being able to have, the dissemination from Alex Singleton, getting the defensive call to the rest of the players. For me, that was kind of an issue.
Communication issues on defense, penalties, and then a couple of turnovers right at the goal line. Definitely the difference in this one. Let's go back into the Broncos locker room and hear from Javonte Williams.
Crowd noise is something that was getting to him, but we still can't make excuses. We got to correct the small details, like I said, even with the goal line. Same thing with the penalties, correct the small things and move on and get better from this week.
What was it like for Russell, in the huddle? Obviously, it was emotional. The crowd was loud. He's played here for so long, played so well. It must have been kind of an up and down thing to watch your quarterback go through this.
Russ always keep the same mentality. He always stay calm and cool. So, I don't really think it was getting to him too much.
At the end there, you guys got a chance. It's 4th and 5. Coach Hackett opts to go for the field goals that Brandon McManus got to where he wanted to. B-Mac's got the leg for it. Did you want to be on the field? Were you comfortable with that? Or, just chips fall where they may?
Yeah, I just let Coach Hack make our decisions. That's why he's the head coach. And, that's his job.
Last one for you, just the fact that you guys turn the ball over. You have too many penalties, and yet you got a chance at the very end to win it. So as rough as this is a defeat, it just shows you how good this team can be if everything gets put together.
Yeah, I feel like, like you said, we got a lot of good pieces. We just got to put everything together, get back to practice, make sure everything molded together, and just keep going.
Very good. Appreciate the time. Thank you, sir. Right. Thank you. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
That's Broncos running back Javonte Williams inside what has to be a disappointing Broncos locker room. 17-16, the final. The Broncos falling a little bit short against the Seahawks. Does it feel like that to you, Todd? Like if you put it all together, correct some of those things, this would have been a much different result?
Absolutely. I feel like the Broncos have the potential to still be a really good football team. I know they made some mistakes, but if they can clean those up, they have the potential to really do great in the AFC and do great in the AFC West, and I know that's one of their goals. So I think the number one focus for practice this week is to clean up those mistakes to be better next week.
Well, let's be totally honest, gentlemen. The first game of the NFL season, it is preseason, is it not? And this is kind of one of those games where you try to work out all of your kinks. And the Broncos were definitely trying to deal with that because I look at this game as being very emotional on both sides of the ball. I mean, you're going back into a hostile environment. Wilson wants to win the game. It is him versus Pete Carroll. The team kind of put Russell on their back, and we saw those early mistakes. Guys were pressing too much. They were not allowing the game to come to them. So this is still a good team. And think about it. I mean, Rod Mackey asked the question to Javonte, and it was like, well, with all your mistakes, you still had an opportunity to win the ball game. So this is not Panic City now. If this was like week 6, now hit the panic button, hit the panic button. But we don't have to do that right now. The team is in good shape. They just have a couple of things they need to clean up. And fortunate for them, they got the Houston Texans coming in on Sunday.
Yeah, that's for sure going to be a huge game. Cannot start the season 0-2. There's some kind of crazy stat. Teams that start 0-2, they just don't make the playoffs. So you got to win these games that you're supposed to win. The Broncos were favored in this one. The weird thing is, if you look down like the stats, you know, the Broncos dominated total yards, 433 to 253. Passing dominated, rushing dominated. It's just they lost the turnover battle and they lost in penalties.
Yeah, too many penalties. Like I said, 106 yards, that's like giving the team this touchdown to start the game. So they're already playing from behind. And then you go to those two big turnovers right there at the goal line. I think that's what caps off the night as a game that the Broncos couldn't win. They cleaned that up, man. They're really, really a good football team. You know, they scored those 2 touchdowns. It's a totally different game. And I think that everybody's raving about them. Everybody's excited for the future. And everybody's talking about how great they can be if those mistakes get cleaned up.
Yeah, it's you always go back to the penalties and how that shaped things. There was a series where Ronald Darby got a penalty, and then right after that, you saw one from Kareem Jackson when he kind of helmet to helmet on Noah Fant. Those are things that you can definitely clean up. There's no extra practice time that is required for that. It's making great decisions. And the one on Bradley Chubb, when he was a little late on Geno Smith, you just have to know once the quarterback releases the ball, you can't take 2 extra steps. That is discipline on the player, so all of those things can be cleaned up.
And we've seen that all around the NFL. Week 1, a lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties, a lot of things that need to just get corrected. I think this Broncos team is probably way different than the Broncos team that this team will eventually become, what it'll turn into.
Yeah, they have a lot more growing to do and a lot more coming together. I think they have a lot of communication to work on, but they're going to be a much better team come week 10, 11. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with at that time.
But think about this. Last year this time, Vic Fangio was the quarterback, and Teddy Bridgewater was the Vic Fangio was the head coach. Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback. They were playing against the New York Giants, and we know how that game ended up. But just think, even in the loss, you still have to be a little optimistic of what this team is capable of, because in that game last year, in that Giants game, there were a couple of plays here and there, one to Jerry Jeudy, but now Jerry Jeudy actually scored his first touchdown, and it didn't take 8 weeks for it to happen. So once again, I still feel as though this team with no preseason is still further along than we anticipated.
We're going to hear from Russell Wilson here in just a second, but this was Broncos fans really their first opportunity to see him, unless you went out to training camp. What did you think? Is this? We saw some nice play calls from Nathaniel Hackett, creative offense a little bit. It certainly looked like a much different team than we saw last year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good team. I think their formula of running the football and then having that play-action pass, taking those deep shots with their phenomenal wide receivers they have, I think that's the winning formula for them. And I think that plays right into Russell Wilson's hand. He's a quarterback that likes to get out of the pocket, scramble, use his legs, and make deep throws. I think he's great at that, and I think it's going to be a great run for him if they're able to put those two things together, running the football and that boot game, that play-action pass, they'll be great.
One thing that was said about Russell Wilson was his inability to utilize his tight ends. Tonight, we saw a lot usage of the tight end. So I'm expecting, like you said, Todd, for the Broncos to establish the run, but more importantly, they want to establish those tight ends. And now we're going to see Russell attacking the field more in this offense than he did with the Seahawks.
And then really the red zone. I mean, we saw Albert O catch a ball right on the goal line. If he's just 1 foot in, that's a touchdown. This game is different. Eric Tomlinson caught a ball right on the sideline. 1 inch, his foot stepped out of bounds. I mean, they say it's a game of inches. We really saw that today, especially with the Broncos struggling to just cross that goal line.
Yeah, we did. And once again, when you get inside that red zone, it is so difficult. And that's One of the things a lot of coaches around the NFL, offensive coordinators, they struggle with, because how many plays do you have to work with inside the red zone? The field is reduced. So now you're looking at shots where you're throwing, back shoulder fades or little stop routes to the tight end, making hooks, or backs to the flat. So we didn't really see that today from the Denver Broncos. I saw Russell moving, trying to extend the play and find open receivers, but I have all the confidence in the world that Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson will get those things corrected.
Yeah, it's a long season. They'll get these things corrected. I would hope to see some more jump balls, some fade balls to Courtland Sutton. I think that would be, a great play for them to put in and really utilize his height and his ability to go over the top of people and really make big plays. So they have a lot more of gelling to do, but I think they'll gel.
The offensive line, we talked about the pass protection, but the running game, we saw some spurts there where it was looking pretty sharp. Melvin Gordon, 58 yards rushing. Javonte Williams, 43. It seemed like there were some holes there for them.
Yeah, I never really thought the Seattle Seahawks stopped the Denver Broncos running game. The Broncos just simply stopped running the ball. But I feel like the running game was there for them the entire night. Javonte Williams is a madman. He's tough to bring down. You saw him making people miss when he was able to get his hands on the ball, whether it was running the ball or some pass plays where he was able to even give them a chance to go for that field goal by the play he made at the end of the game. So I think those two running backs are going to be dynamic when everything comes together.
I want to take you back to when Melvin Gordon was at the podium one time, and he was asked the question, well, who was going to be the feature back? And he was like, well, I guess the team already knows what they want to do, and he just figured as though Javonte would be the guy. But tonight, both guys were leaned on heavily to kind of carry on that workload and as far as the running backs were concerned. So this is what we're going to see throughout the season. We're going to see both guys being featured in this offense. It's not going to be like one guy becomes the bell cow for this offense, but this is what you need to keep opposing defenses off balance, but still open up that passing game with the play action.
We're expecting to hear from Russell Wilson any second now here. We'll join his press conference live in just a second. But it seemed like those guys, the running game, everything just tightened up. They could not get the ball across the goal line there at the end. That's got to be frustrating, especially for a guy like Javonte. You think he could just plow over some of those guys.
Yeah, he's a big power back. I know he's frustrated that he wasn't able to just punch it right in there. And I think you've marched down the field, whether it's 80, 70 yards to get all the way down there, and you need half an inch to get into the end zone. That's so frustrating for an offense to march down to that 1 yard line and not make it in.
And we do have Russell Wilson now at the podium talking to the press at Lumen Field.
Runs, a lot of great things. I mean, the reality was just we didn't get the ball in the end zone on those red zone plays, and turn it over a couple times, but down there. But the thing was, I think that how we kept answering. I thought we were really good on third down. I thought we were just kept getting first downs on third downs, and also we made some key plays. I thought Jeudy looked amazing tonight. Excited for him. Courtland too made some great plays too as well. So I think the name of this game is, anytime you play is, it's about, the turnover battle. You got to win that. And then also too, I thought that, all three parts got to play great together at the same time. When we can do that, especially 2 out of 3, which I think we did at some points of the game, but we've got to do it throughout the whole game. The great thing I told these guys, though, we got to be unwavering, unwavering. I thought that, obviously the environment's always special here. I've been here for 10 years. It was special tonight. I thought the energy, I thought everybody was focused and locked in. I couldn't have been more locked in, just felt like I was on every little detail. And, it just didn't go our way. But guess what? There's 16 more games to go, and there's a lot more football to play. And I'm looking forward to what we can do, especially when we get it all together at the same time.
Russell, how surprised were you that you took the ball out of your hands on 4th and 5 and decided to kick it rather than leaving the offense on the field?
Well, we got the best field goal kicker maybe in the game. We knew that we said where can you make it from tonight? And he said 46 left hash. I think we were on the 46, right? 46 left hash. That was before the drive, and we got it there. Unfortunately, it didn't go in. I think he has a leg for it for sure. Just went a little left, I believe, and just in terms of, I believe in Coach Hackett. I believe in what we're doing. And believe in everything, and. Anytime you can try to find a way to make a play on 4th and 5, that's great too. But also, I don't think it was the wrong decision. I think he can make it. Obviously, in hindsight, we didn't make it. But if we were in that situation again, I wouldn't doubt whatever he decided.
Russ, you touched on the atmosphere. Can you just expound on all of it? You coming back, the emotions, the crowd, everything?
You know, I think that for me, Seattle's been, you know, amazing for me. You know, like I said, anybody who thinks any other words, they don't know who my heart, and they don't know how much you know, this city has meant to me. From all the kids I've met, to, you know, building our school here, to all the games we won here, all the special times. Forever grateful for it, you know. And so I got to see a lot of teammates afterwards. DK, Tyler, you know, DK, just, you know, talking to him, just, you know, he's one of my best friends in the world. You know, we talk every week, a couple times a week. Penny Hart, you know, we talk every other day. Tyler Lockett, you know, just seeing him get engaged, and just, you know, these things matter. You know, the game matters, obviously. Winning matters, but, you know, your friends matter too. And so seeing guys like Disley, seeing guys like Quandre Diggs, you know, a guy, I telling him how much he's inspired me, just, you know, as a father, he's an amazing dad. I think he's his heart, you know, he's got an amazing heart too as well. You know, there's so many guys. I pray for Jamal too. He's one of the best in the game. I'm not sure what his status is or whatever. I know he got off the field, but you know, he's a guy I've talked to quite a bit too as well. One of the best in the game. So just praying for him, you know. So I think that, you know, more than anything else, though, for me personally, I didn't waver. You know, they may cheer for you, they may boo you, they'll love you one day and they'll hate you the next. And that's sports. At the end of the day, I'm going to keep competing. I'm going to keep battling. I know who I am. First of all, I think for me, I'm just grateful God's given me the chance to play this game, to sit here in front of you guys and say, God, you know, it's all for His glory and His glory alone. It's not for anybody else's. I play for an audience of one, and that's just for Him. And so I'm just grateful that I get to be with these guys, you know, in this locker room too as well. I've been around some amazing teammates in the past, and I got some amazing teammates currently, and I'm going to remember every single moment of that. So tonight was special. You know, it was on the other side, you know, than I used to, but it was still a special environment. So it's a place that I've always loved.
What would you attribute the penalties to tonight?
Say again?
The number of penalties that you had tonight. What would you attribute?
I thought we were just battling out there. You know, it's a great game going back and forth. I think that we can eliminate those. It's football. I think we got a tough-nosed defense that has attitude and has you know, just is as tough as it can get. You're gonna get some penalties every once in a while when that happens. You know, that's just the name of the game. I think that also too. I think we can be a little bit more efficient every once in a while. But I thought how efficient we were moving the ball up and down the field. I mean, you know, guys were excited. You know, about where we can go and what we can do. Today was, you know, we didn't get it could have done tonight, but there's so much that we can do, and it's so special to have such great running backs. You know, to see the tight ends. AO played well. I thought our tight ends, I thought Beck played really great. I thought Cortland and you know, Jerry were spectacular. And you know, just to see KJ Hamler back out there again, what exciting for him. So that was great.
Time for a few more for Russ. I know you said it's just sports, you know, cheers or boos, that's kind of how it is, but did the boos that came down bother you at all? Did it get to you? Were you expecting something else?
No, it didn't bother me. You know, it was, you know, this is a hostile environment. It always has been. You know, I didn't expect him to give a round of applause every once in a while. You know, you know, so I think that, like I would say, you know, I gave everything I had every day here, every day. And anybody says anything else, you know, they're completely wrong. I gave everything I had every day, so I know that for a fact. So, you know, like I said, I have some amazing teammates on the other side of that field that I love to death, and gave everything I had to them. They gave everything they had to me, and God brought me somewhere else. You know, I'm here, you know, in Denver. I'm excited about it. I'm excited where we're going, and you know, so it was. I'm just grateful. I give the glory to God because He's given me the gift of playing this game.
Last one, Ed.
And that's Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson there. We're back here in studio. An emotional answer there maybe at the end. Said that he gave it everything he had every single day there in Seattle. But I guess he understands the fans' reaction there.
Yeah, it's tough because you see how much he cares about the organization and his teammates. I mean, he still speaks so highly of the guys that he shared the locker room with. Definitely a heartfelt answer. You could tell that touched his heart. Even about the fans booing him, I don't know if he loved that as much, but I know that he loved the Seattle Seahawks and he wanted to get a win tonight, but couldn't come through with it.
That's the one thing that I love about Russell Wilson. Even in the loss, he always, take the bright side of things, talking about his teammates on the opposite side of the ball in the Seattle Seahawks, but still realizing that now he plays for the Denver Broncos. But he understands the business of football and how it works. Yeah, I mean, to quote Jay-Z, and I think Russ was trying to do it, first they love you, then they hate you, then they love you again. If you play this game long enough, you're going to find yourself in that situation where you're playing against a former team and the fans that once cheer for you, they're now booing for you. So right now, this game is over. It's time for Russell and his team to turn the page and now focus on the next game, and that's the Houston Texans.
Eternally optimistic. That's Russ. No panic yet from him at all. And hopefully never any panic from him there. I got to get your guys' thoughts on that suit, though. I mean, when he walked in with that mint green, I don't know if that was a tuxedo. I don't know what you call that, but I thought for sure the Broncos were going to win.
Yeah, he was looking good. I just thought that at some point that 007 eagle eye something was going to come on him because he definitely was looking like Russell Wilson. Like, he was looking like the man.
So I was obviously, when I seen the mint green suit, the first thing I was thinking about my dad and my mom playing music on Saturday. So the first thing that came to mind was he was that lost member of the Four Tops, right? That's the first thing that I thought. He was a lost member of the Four Tops. But hey, the Broncos didn't win. The suit was great. It was in mint condition. But now it's time to move along.
Let me ask you this. Sometimes when you wear a suit into the game, you're feeling good. Do you pack an extra one just in case things don't go the way you want it? Because Russ, he's stuck with that one. Yeah. But maybe you want a backup one in case it doesn't go well.
No, look good, feel good, play good. He was planning on looking good tonight. Didn't play as well as he wanted to. But when you look good, you usually feel good and you usually play good.
Well, that tells you a lot about who Russell Wilson is. I mean, he wore the suit. He knew he was going back to the Emerald City, hence why he wore the mint green. And he came out to the podium after a loss wearing the same suit because that's who he is day in and day out. I know people criticize Russell a lot and say that he's really corny. He's not really corny. He's just being who he is. And how can you knock someone for being who they are all day, every day? So, Russell, continue to do you.
Yeah, you got to appreciate Russ's mindset here, especially after a tough loss. You got to rebound. It's a short week. Got the Houston Texans coming in here. He did call tonight's atmosphere special. He said that he couldn't have been more locked in, and he did not doubt Nathaniel Hackett's decision to kick that field goal with Brandon McManus. As we wrap up the show here, just around the horn here, what do the Broncos need to do this week to make sure that they're better next week?
Well, just clean up some of their mistakes that they made. There's no reason to panic. I think the Broncos are still on the right track to have a great season. They have a couple of mistakes in communication that they really need to get cleared up so they can be ready to go. But I think everything's going to be fine. Everybody can just relax. I think, Russell Wilson, this isn't the first season opener he's ever lost. He knows how to bounce back. He knows how to bring the guys together. They'll be just fine.
Just go back and watch the film and just try to get better. Especially inside the red zone. Look at why they were not successful in the red zone. You really can't do anything about Glasgow being pushed back in the lap of Javonte Williams, but there was a fumble that took place. So now you're talking about ball security. All 7 points of pressure, holding on to the ball, especially in the pile. If they do that, they should win this upcoming Sunday.
Get those mistakes cleaned up there. Russell Wilson and Seattle lost a season opener to the Broncos a few years ago, and Seattle still made the playoffs that season. So certainly not unfamiliar territory for Russell Wilson. But the Broncos falling a little bit short here, 17-16 in Russell Wilson's debut and his return to Seattle. That is going to do it for us. For Nick Ferguson and Todd Davis, I am Phil Milani. This has been Broncos Postgame Live.